of being told I could never see him anymore, so I didn't want him to say anything to me that I would know what they would consider bad.
And eventually your
because then I'd have to admit it.
And then
I'd have to admit it, and then I'd be told I could never see him again. So I wanted him to think I was doing okay.
So everybody's play acting with everybody.
Yeah.
Plus, there's
And everybody's afraid to say what they're honestly.
And I tell you what that does to your mind is just unbelievable. You no longer know what is going on in your mind. You no longer know how you feel. You no longer know what's true, what's black, what's white. You don't know anything. I had my mind was just a mess.
And then she would, because I was what they call disaffected at this point. I paid lip service to Scientology, but I personally no longer liked it, no longer had any intention of spending more money on it. And so then I would ask Astra a few questions about school and her health, and then she would immediately switch to, Dad, you need to get back on course. Dad, you need to buy more auditing.
Well, this was my drilling of what to do.
And I would then say, then I would play my part. I would then say, oh, Astra, yes, I've just, worked really hard, and I just, I fully intend to do more auditing. Because, I hated lying and I hated being a part of it, but I was just terrified that both of my daughters were in the Sea Org, and I'd heard so many horror stories of parents who just never saw their children disappeared.
Well, and the stories are true.
Yeah,
because I used to sneak off to see him. I wasn't allowed to see him, and I wasn't really allowed to have the car. But I lied and said I paid for the insurance myself, and it was all mine. So if they'd known he paid for the insurance and stuff, that's an external influence. So I was questioned about that by RTC.
How do you think these people have managed to gain such an incredible degree of control over people like you and you?
Oh, it's very gradual.
It's gradual, and then it's very easy to do with the people who have family in it, because that's right over your head. Like I couldn't just walk away because my family was in it and they never talked to me again. And after time, it's okay, it's the thing where you think everything's your fault and you're a bad person, and you don't want to be a bad person. You don't want everyone to look at you badly. You don't want your family to never speak to you again. And you really do think that this organization, even though, you think they're saving mankind, and you just think we're going through like a rough time right now, but it's our fault and we need to handle it. And I always had this thought, like, soon it will get better. Soon we will save mankind and we won't get in trouble all the time, Soon things will smooth over. Soon we'll be getting Scientology expanded all over the planet, and and then no longer will everyone be yelling at us all the time.
Why do you suppose the three of you were able to see the truth of the situation, and your mother obviously hasn't?
Well, we've talked about it, like, between the three of us to kind of try and figure it out, because for me personally, the whole time I was there, a little voice in the back of my mind was saying to me, why is this all true, what Scientology says, just because they say so? If I had been born into, the Christian religion, any other religion, another cult, what they would be saying would be true. So why is this true, just because I was born into it? I think with my mom, her mom's in Scientology. Her mom's in the Sea organization. And I think my mom always was trying to please her mom because her older sister was very successful, and she wasn't like her older sister, so she's always trying to please her mom. I think that's how she got. I don't know, this is just my assumption.
Yeah, we can't be sure.
Mm-hmm. And then when she came into the Sea organization, she kept moving up and up and up onto higher posts, and that made her very important, and she got a lot of importance out of that. And, she was known and is known in this organization for being even more fanatical than most.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She'll scream and yell at people. She'll really, really get into things, even more than a lot of the other Sea Org members.
In the early days of the Sea Organization, she'd been on the L. Ron Hubbard had gone around the Mediterranean on a ship called the Apollo, and so she'd been on that ship with Hubbard, and she'd met him, and so she was really caught up in it.
So she had been in the Sea Org, and then she was out of the Sea Org, and then she went back in?
Well, actually, I think she'd been a student, and she'd been sent there for training, not specifically in the Sea Org, but she'd met Hubbard, so that had a huge impact on her. And her attitude was, this man Hubbard is so great, so wonderful, and if only you'd met him, you would want to do everything you could to help Scientology. And so but I had a kind of a curiosity in my mind. I would ask her, tell me about the upper levels of Scientology, and why is it you people hate psychiatrists? I've met some psychiatrists, I think they're nice people, I think they want to help people, and she would like, how dare you say that? How dare you question?
Was this before you were a Scientologist?
No, I think, well, I'd done some courses, and so, you know, but nothing.
But you weren't yet.
I wasn't yet really into it, right? But we
what
got
you were getting into.
right. But we were married, and so, you know, I thought there'd be like an open exchange of ideas, but really, she was shut off, you know.
So she was already a dedicated Scientologist
Exactly,
before
yeah.
you even met her.
Yeah.
And
right.
then did you meet because you came in and started taking these courses?
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we started to date, and you know, I always admired her because she'd done, you know, the higher levels, and she was so highly trained.
And what do you think attracted her to you?
Well, at the time, I was one of the few people in the. I mean, I'd graduated in architecture. I had a job. I had a car. I had a place to live, and
These things
honestly,
were appealing.
these things, no one else really in the London organisation, you know, had those things, had prospects, had a job. You know, they were all living hand to mouth, and so I think she just saw that I was some kind of meal ticket. You know, she wasn't actually working. You know, she didn't have a proper job.
My mom was living, she was having some strange people watch Matthew 'cause she couldn't afford to pay for him to go to proper daycare. She was having to borrow money from her parents because she wasn't making any money working at the London Org because they didn't make a lot of money. You know, she was totally stretched thin, and then along comes my dad, who, you know.
I mean, with my mother, I've always thought that she kind of felt a responsibility towards having us raised in the Sea Org because, like, when you, you're not even if you're on the same level in Scientology, like spiritual training, you're not allowed to talk about it with anyone. And she was already way ahead of my father in spiritual training. And it's kind of like a barrier there because there's things you can't talk about, and it kind of puts a strain on the relationship just because you can't talk about them, or there's things one person knows and the other one doesn't. So she kind of was like, I guess her attitude was like, oh, I know this, and they just don't know it.
Well, you feel a bit superior, don't you?
Yeah, totally. So that's what I think.